So we're going to look at how we can modulate parameters using LFOs. So the LFO section is located here next to the AHDSR envelopes. And what we're going to do is we are going to, firstly, I've selected a saw and I went for this one, the Saw MG, which I believe is based on a Moog synth, and I've done the same again and I've tuned it up 12 semitones here, so it is an octave higher. So without the octave it sounds like this, and then if I add the octave, so it's just a bigger kind of rich sound. Okay, and then we're going to add a filter. I've selected the low pass 12 dB edgy filter, and that's saying it's based on XP, which I believe is a Roland synth. So I'm going to take that down to about 12 o'clock, so it sounds like this. Okay, so we can see that because I've touched that control last, it's highlighted in blue. So we're going to go over to the modulation matrix, okay, and switch it on and choose a modulation source. I'm going to use LFO1, which is set with a sine wave. So just a bit of explanation of what the depth control does. So I'm just going to turn that to 0. So when it's turned to 0, you won't hear any modulation at all. Okay, so we can just hear the filter impacting on the waveforms, so removing a lot of the high frequencies. And then when I turn the depth up, what you'll see is an orange area appear around the modulation target. So when I turn this up, you can see that orange area there. Okay, we can choose to have it bipolar, which means it will modulate back and forth, or we can choose to have it just modulating. If we turn that off, it will just modulate upwards, but I'm going to go for bipolar. So we're going to create something that sounds, a bit of a wobbling bass sound, okay, commonly used in all kinds of different music. So in the LFO itself, so what is the LFO? So the LFO stands for low frequency oscillator. Okay, so it's another oscillator as we have in our sources. Okay, and we can choose all different shapes. Okay, so the default is a sine wave, but there's things like got the down ramp. Just go through some of them. The up ramp, random glide, random hold, the sine, the square, the triangle. Okay, and there's loads, absolutely loads, that you can go through and experiment with. But yeah, I think we'll choose the sine wave. And you'll notice that when I hold down the key, you can see the little white dot showing how the cutoff is being moved. So we've got various different controls within here. We are going to, you can choose to have it synced to the BPM, okay, of your project that you're working on, which I tend to do. So it gives you a note value. So the default is for it to be synced to quarter notes. Then we can speed that up. Okay, we can delay it, so it means it won't kick in straight away. We can slow the attack. We can use values for that. And we can also change the phase of the waveform. Okay. So that gives us a kind of overview, and then we can modify this. We can turn down the depth, okay, which is essentially going to change how much it's going to move by. Okay, we can turn up the resonance. And when we turn up the resonance, you can hear it kind of becomes almost like a kind of vowel-y type sound, okay, which is where we get the kind of wobble kind of effect from, I suppose. Not strictly a vowel type sound, but it sounds, you know, it's got that character to it. Okay, and it's just clipping up so slightly, so made it very loud. But yeah, essentially that's how we kind of make a wobble bass and how we set up modulation with an LFO. We could, if we wanted, modulate other parameters as well. So it could be that we want, say, the pan to be modulated by an LFO, and we could choose a second LFO, and it's going to show up here as a 2. Okay. And if you listen to that on your headphones, you'll hear it skipping between the two speakers because that is now being modulated. Okay, and that is how to set up modulation using an LFO. Hope the video has been useful, and thank you for listening.